Hi, this is Avar from Scrappy Mania, and welcome to another episode of Scrapintherapy. And what I'm doing right now is just putting a little bit of gesso and then spreading the gesso on my page with a baby wipe. I did not want to put too much gesso on here because I am going to be using some watercolor paints, and I wanted to make sure that my watercolor stays on a little better on the page. And then I'm making sure I'm putting some plastic. These are old plastics that you buy for your table. I'm just putting that on each side of my page so that way when I do start spraying it, it's not going to bleed into the page, behind it. So here are some of my color mists that I'm using. I'm just spraying my paper and then I'm drying. And as you can see, it does kind of move, and I do like how it moves and kind of blends in with the other color, but not completely. It doesn't really completely blend in. And once I dried it, because I didn't put a heavy coat of gesso, you can see how some of it did get absorbed into the page. So these doilies that you see there, I got these from a friend of mine. She got a plant at work, and she had she had this underneath her plant. So she gave it to me because she was going to throw away the plant, and I asked for it. So it really works very well. So if you see things like doilies, and you can use them for stenciling and for masks, they work very well. And you can use it a couple times because it's plastic. The ones that you find at the dollar store tend to be plastic, so they work very well. So here I'm just making sure everything is nice and dry before I go to the next step. And I'm still kind of figuring out what to do. The only thing I had in mind for this page is that I did want to use like a rainbow color with my color mist, and I did want to use that doily. Those were the two items that I had in mind. But other than that, I really didn't know what to use. So here I was going through all my stamps, figuring out what to make of this page. And when you're at a loss, the easiest way is to make circles. So I decided to pull out some more of my watercolor paint, and I'm just making some circles with the different colors, blue, red. You'll see in a moment that I use yellow and a little bit of green. And then because it's watercolor and I do have some gesso on the page, it doesn't immediately soak in, so you really get that nice blending of the colors together when they touch. And see how that blue one on top is kind of has that, it's kind of moving and creating like a little drip factor, and I really like that. In a moment you'll see that after I put all my colors, see how it blends? I just like that. When I go over it with my hair dryer, you'll see that I actually will make it drip towards the bottom, and see how you can create those nice drip factors. Just tilt your book up or your journal and then dry it, and it looks very nice. So here I'm just making sure everything is dry before I do the next treatment. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get my black gelato, and I'm just gonna make circles around the circles, and then I'm gonna smear the black gelato around my painted circles, as you can see there, giving it like a black halo effect. And then I decided to do the same thing on the edges, just kind of putting some gelato and smearing the gelato. You get the same effect if you use the Portfolio Black pastels, wax pastels that are water soluble. They do the same thing. And then I wanted to give it some dimension because the circles were flat. So in order to make the circles look a little more, have more dimension, is to put some white outline. And then the next thing I did is I took some stamp, and this is a Delusion stamp. And I went ahead and stamped the the alphabet, some of the alphabet in each of those circles. And then I decided to just take the next stamp that is just a bunch of other circles like dots, and I'm just stamping within inside of some of the circles. Then this pen that you see there is one of my Sharpie painters, and I'm using my stencils to write the word live for today, and then I'm also gonna put in forget tomorrow. And then later on, you'll see that I go ahead and write in forget about tomorrow in a different font. So I'm going over it and making each line a little thicker and giving a little bit of character to my letters. And I do like these painters. They really work very well on multimedia surface or mixed media surface. So I'm making sure they're nice and dry, because the next step that I want to do is I want to use my white Sharpie painter, and I'm just going to give it a little bit of dimension. And you got to burp these a little bit. And it wasn't as white as I wanted it, so then I decided to use a detail a detail brush, and I'm going over each of the letters with some of my white gesso. And just doing that, it really gives it more dimension to your letters. Just a little bit of white gesso. And then now I'm just making sure I'm drying it, and then I just using my white painter Sharpie painter pen, I'm just sprinkling a little bit of white drops on my page. So I'm going to pull another stamp, and I'm not sure the name of this stamp, but it's one that has like a lot of little swirls, and they're great for outlining your pages or your layouts. And here I'm putting this picture of a little puppy that my daughter has, so I decided to make another page with the puppy. And I'm outlining the the picture, and then I'm going to be doodling in a second. But I decided that I wanted to use some of this metallic rub-on, so that's what I'm using for the edges. So I'm just putting some more metallic rub-ons around the page, and I really like the look and the creaminess of these metallic rub-ons. And then I'm putting a little more gesso just to give it a little more character and more distressy look. So the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to put some pearls. So I decided to put 3 of the gold pearled in a bottle, or I think it's bead in a bottle. That you can get these at Michael's or Joann's in the fabric section. And what it does is it's fabric paint that dries dimensional. And then I'm just doing some doodling around the frame and just playing with the doodling. I'm using my white Sharpie painter to fill in the scallops or the little bubbles, but then I decided to use gesso because it was not white enough. So I decided just to use white gesso with a thin brush or a round brush. Actually, it's not a thin brush, it's a round brush. And see how it just pops when you do use gesso instead of the white painter's pen. I still haven't found a real nice opaque white pen, so gesso works very well for me. So I'm making sure everything is nice and dry, and I'm almost done with this page. Here I'm just writing it about, handwriting that word, and then I'm using some more gesso to kind of go put some white on some of the edges to make it look like it's dimensional. So here's my page, and I hope you like this video, and thank you for watching. Bye now.